Dive into the world of truth and transparency with two Ps in a podcast with global guests and dynamic discussions. Explore the topics mainstream media won't cover. Join Andy Peacher from Scotland and author Timothy Spearman from Canada, and be part of the conversation. Email us to be our guest. freedomtalkradio2013@gmail.com. Visit freedomtalkradioonline.com, your gateway to unfiltered conversations and insightful talk shows.
Recording. Are you ready?
Good.
It's recording. All right. So, Andy, you want to lead with your first introduction to your radio network and Two Peas in a Pod?
Yeah, Two Peas in the Pod. We're basically a show, aren't we, that explains things that the mainstream media won't let you explain. In truth, really, we help other people. We try to promote our books, try to promote good well-being, really, between each other's. But what the problem is, Tim,
Yeah.
we've got the government against us. We've got the medics against us. We've even now got, in this country, in the UK, and probably around the world now, we're all on the verge of a civil war.
Yeah.
And that's because of greedy corporation and the migrants that are coming in that are actually, they're deliberately bringing them in, these rogue governments, such as our Keir Starmer, to do the white depopulation, which...
Yeah, to spawn a race
not
war.
in any Bible.
It's to spawn a race war, get rid of the establishment in every country so it has no heritage, no national identity, and then every country will easily sign up to the UN fascist world government order, the new world order, and we'll all be subject to the beast and have to wear digital ID on our hand with a tattoo stamped on our hand or our forehead or wherever put it on our ass. I don't know where they're going to put it.
No, that's going quite bad, because at the moment, digital ID, they're trying it out with everyone, although it's not official yet, but they're trying it out at the moment on servicemen, ex-military service people, and it's not going down well. They're really kicking off, and so right they should.
What they need to do is grab their guns and go and shoot that fucker Steimer and go on a rampage and take out the whole corrupt elite. And let's have a revolution in every European country and Canada and the United States and get rid of these creeps.
It seems funny, but it's not, because it's actually getting worse. I mean, what they did the other day, right? You couldn't make this up. A migrant was charged only 4 weeks ago. So he was charged with the rape of a 14-year-old, and he was from a migrant hotel.
Yeah.
So they put him in jail for 1 year.
All right.
But because of overcrowding problems, he was
let him out again.
Released only 4 weeks later. So weekend, Friday, just gone. They let him out.
And he raped someone else.
This is what's funny about it. They let him out because they were supposed to be sending him to a migrant center to be deported. But they let him out in the public. They just said, go. And he was such a gentleman. Well, from a prisoner's point of view, he kept going back into the prison and say, look, mistake. I'm supposed to be going home, not, roaming the streets. So anyway, after a couple of hours, he left the prison, and the government has got a big smack in the mouth over the weekend, because that shouldn't have happened. He should have been deported as agreed. But why did he only get 4 weeks in jail for raping or sexually abusing a 14-year-old? Ridiculous.
Well, our corrupt governments and incompetent leadership are to blame. And the Starmer guy is just an absolute disaster. That idiot. I thought he had just been arrested. Was that a lie or what?
Well, I wish he had. Well, he's lost his second in charge. He's got a new one. The new one now hates him to death. Who knows what's going to happen next? He certainly loves the lefties, and he hates the British. So does our Muslim London mayor, Sadiq Khan, or Sad Khan, we call him. Yeah, it's just
I've never
diabolical.
liked Prince Charles. I never liked him as Prince Charles. I like him even less as King Charles, but at least he stood up to this stupid London mayor who's just nothing but a corrupt filth monger who's promoted the grooming gangs and allowed them to prosper and trying to invoke Sharia law and all this kind of nonsense. He's got to go, that guy. He's an absolute menace.
Not only that, I mean, the guy in Scotland, he's the same. He's a Muslim. He was the head of Scottish politics until they got rid of him. And he's exactly the same. He says, really, basically, I don't like white people. So what the hell are they in this country in the first place if you don't like white people? And that is called Huma Yusuf or something like that. But
Oh, I
all
know.
these
There's
Asian
radical
people
there's
that don't
radical
like.
there's radical Sikhs in British Columbia that are saying that all white people should go back to Europe. It's just like unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So what's the history on that then? Was originally the white people from Europe, or was that just a bit of a joke?
Well, I mean, obviously, white Caucasians are from Europe. The various colonial powers of Europe colonized these various countries. Canada, colonized by France and England. And so, what do we have but this Sikh radical organization that wants to found Khalistan in British Columbia are telling all the white people to go back to Europe. Well, you know how that goes over. There's a backlash here against Indians because of this kind of racist attitude that some of them have. And it just inflames the whole situation. And I don't know who's behind it, but this is how race wars begin, with invectives and diatribes going on that are hostile, and they get out of control. They fan the flames of conflict, and then you've got a civil war. It's a nightmare, Andy. It's just ridiculous. I mean, it requires respect. The native population of the country has to have respect for the incoming immigrant population, assuredly, yes. But the respect has to go both ways. And frankly, a lot of them don't respect the host country's population. They don't respect the institutions of the country. They don't respect the laws of the country, and they just violate them. Like, I had to listen all night to fireworks going off for Diwali all night long. That's just a complete lack of respect for the local culture and the residents, and the fact that they have to get up for work the next day and they're just having their festival all night long. Well, that's in violation of Canadian law. You have to abide by the bylaws which restrict noise after 11 p.m. Having these fireworks booming all through the night, how are people supposed to sleep? And furthermore, fireworks actually burned houses in Edmonton, Alberta during this festive occasion going on all night. They actually burned houses and required a fire Department response to put out the blaze?
Yeah, I mean, when we celebrate New Year, you know, we don't do it all night long, do we? I mean, obviously, the New Year celebrations is before you hear the bells, and then the majority of people, unless you're doing it in the house or as a special club open, we stop at midnight or 1 in the morning. We don't do that shit all night. It's disrespectful, like you said, to our local people, and
Okay,
what gives
well,
them the right? But we're not saying that they're not welcome, because they definitely are if they're legal. They just have to,
well, some
exactly what you just
people,
said,
some Indians have pointed
listen to
out,
our rules.
some Indians here have pointed out that, you know, past Indian citizens of Canada have been very respectful and have been law abiding and good, upstanding citizens. But these more recent Indians, this is coming from the Indians here, the Indian Canadian citizens that have had long standing of maybe they're second generation or third generation Indians in Canada. And they're saying that these newcomers are low caste villagers from the country. They haven't been properly educated. They have no etiquette. They have no manners, according to them. They have no proper education, and they don't understand any of these values and how to respect the host country. This doesn't even occur to them. That's what the older generation of Indian Canadian citizens are saying about these recent Indian immigrants. I'm not saying it. This is not me. I'm just relating what these older generation Indian Canadians are saying about these newcomers that are not respecting the law of the land and not respecting the Canadian institutions and so on.
Yes, it's mad. I mean, I just heard the breaking news that the Israel-Gaza peace thing. Benjamin Netanyahu, he's now going to bomb Gaza tonight, like mad. That I think it's over the dead bodies that they wouldn't bring them all out, as the peace deal.
Wouldn't
And now they're
return the
going to have
body.
a it's going to be a holy war, isn't there? If there isn't already.
Yeah. Well, there's
Every
nothing holy
every
about
white
war.
person,
The only thing
every
holy
religion,
about war is the
yeah.
mortar shell holes in the walls and in the buildings. That's what's holy.
Yeah, I think every white person, every religion, every black, Chinese, everybody everywhere, we're just going to fight each other because we've had enough of each other. It's just going to be bonkers, isn't it?
Well, obviously, the Luciferians that have orchestrated all these social engineering programs to divide and conquer the people by flooding all of our countries with illegal immigrants that are clashing with the local populations. This is a setup. It was designed to divide and conquer and to destroy the nationhood of each country so that it has nothing to defend. And there's no reason to preserve its, heritage because it's destroyed. And so what does it do? Signs up for membership with the UN world government and the fact that the country's in a state of chaos, failed nation status is recommended for nation after nation. They send in the UN blue helmet troops. We have complete fascist world government control over our nations. And who's at the head of the UN world government but these interbreeding bloodline? families that regard all of us as worker unit slaves and want to subject us to abject misery, poverty, and frankly, depopulation and genocide of the Goyim, the cattle as they regard us, or the swine.
I've just put up old car that we had together.
Yeah.
The truth policeman, Inspector Tim and Inspector Andy. Yeah, there's some memories there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You couldn't make up this stuff, though, could you? I mean, people like yourself, I mean, you're making books, they're never getting published because the truth is in them. Then there's protesters getting jailed for many years just for being at an event. There's little old ladies that say, you know, Starmer's a wanker. And I mean, I will say that out loud now. They're getting arrested and locked up for 2 or 3 months. And they're like 80 years old. I mean, this is a bonkers world we live in.
Oh, indeed it is. The lunatics are running the asylum.
Or it could be that the, what you call it, the Shabads are running the asylum with the nurses and the doctors being the leaders of our governments. That's a good way of looking at it.
Okay, so did you know that Hitler was an MI6 British agent?
Wow. Is that definite or?
Yeah, no, it seems to be the case, and I'm going to give you evidence for it with this.
But wouldn't that mean? Hang on, if you're an MI6 agent, that means you must love the security of the British people. But
No,
then the way he acted was the opposite.
no. Look. The World War One and World War II were staged events. So think of it as a movie or as a movie set, and MI6 is in charge, and it's basically a Zionist controlled intelligence service headed up by Victor Rothschild. So let me give you the evidence to support the claim, okay? Here's a list of Hitler's Jewish helpers. The top Jews who are accused of aiding Hitler and the NSDAP include Bernard Baruch, the Shabbat led by the holy, inverted commas, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson, Victor Rothschild and his Zionist House of Rothschild, 2 still unidentified Jews from Heinrich Brüning, called the general managers of 2 of the largest Berlin banks. And I just want to say that I don't subscribe to the view of Jewish helpers of Hitler. I would say Khazarian helpers, fake Jews masquerading as Jews, like the Rothschilds, whose name was Meyer Amschel Bauer, the patriarch, and he changed his name to Rothschild because of the symbol of the beast or the Antichrist that he had on his door of his Frankfurt accounting house in Frankfurt, Germany. It was a 6-pointed star, a red star, red shield, hence Rothschild. Red shield is what it stands for. And so with 6 points, 6 sides, and 6 triangles, you've got in geometric form or in sacred geometry form, you've got the number of the beast, 666. It's a Luciferian family I believe that they are Khazarian conversos to Judaism and therefore Ashkenazi Jews, fake Jews, not real Jews, Baal worshippers, Lucifer worshippers that converted to Judaism under the orders of their king in the time of the so-called holy wars or crusades to hide the fact that they were devil worshippers. And so they converted to Judaism to disguise their true religion. All right, so that's given a bad name to real Jews, these Khazarian conversos who became Ashkenazi Jews. Okay, so, but we're probably two of the trio Jacob Goldschmidt, Oscar Wassermann, and Theodore Frank. Winston Churchill, most likely 7/8 Jewish. So he had some Jewish background, probably not known to many people, but there you go. And Franklin D. Roosevelt, who's a crypto Jew. And Walter Rathenau. Ludwig Wittgenstein, crypto Jew. So with this notion of crypto Jew, there's an effort to hide the fact that they are actually followers of Judaism. Were they Ashkenazi Khazarian conversos to Judaism? Probably. But of course, all these accusations are cases of pure show business because the synagogue of Satan, Team Antichrist, needed Adolf Hitler as their single most important Zionist MI6 agent in Germany from 1933 to 1945. Throughout World War II, the top 5 MI6 agents running Germany as controlled opposition stooges of the Zionist powers, US, Great Britain, Russia, and France, were Adolf Hitler, Hermann Goering, Martin Bormann, Karl Dönitz, and Wilhelm Canaris. Hitler's top 3 bosses. All the evidence shows that Hitler's top 3 Jewish bosses from 1923 to 1945 were Bernard Baruch, the leading Jewish Zionist planner of World War I and World War II, and of the 100% staged Cold War. The Gnostic dualist Luciferian Shabbat, which in 1920 to 1950 was led by the inverted commas holy Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson, the sixth Shabbat Rebbe, and the Zionist House of Rothschild, which in 1939 to 1945 was led mainly by Victor Rothschild, who later oversaw the staged Cold War from 1945 to 1990. Behind the scenes, these 3 bosses gave Hitler most of his financial and political backing from 1923 to 1945, but much more importantly, these 3 figures also gave Hitler most of his orders, whose execution was assured due to his Illuminati mind control. You have to remember that in World War I, he was wounded and taken to hospital and treated for his injuries. And during his time in hospital, he was subject to psychological operations, brainwashing, if you like. Hitler's top. Sorry, Andy?
No, I just said, wow, it's It's
Yeah,
amazing what went on.
yeah, it is. So credit here goes to Patrick O'Connell, right?
Yeah,
Hitler's two main Jewish backers, according to Heinrich Brünig. In his memoirs, Churchill confirmed that the Zionists had placed Hitler in power. He stated that Heinrich Brünig, German chancellor in 1930 to 1932, semi-revealed the names of Hitler's backers in a 1937 letter in which he confided to Churchill, I do not, and do not even today, for understandable reasons, wish to reveal that starting from October 1928, the two largest regular contributors to the NSDAP were the general managers of two of the largest Berlin banks, both of the Jewish faith, both followers of Judaism, and one of them the leader of Zionism in Germany. I watched a video of a Jewish intellectual, a Jewish professor, Jewish researcher, and he said that Zionism was the opposite of Judaism. Well, you know, by promoting the Talmud, which is a satanic book posing as a so-called sacred text or holy book, by no means is it. Zionism endorses and backs the Talmud, and it takes precedent over the Torah, which features, of course, the Ten Commandments. So it repudiates the Ten Commandments and basically encourages the followers of the Zionist movement to do the opposite, break every one of the Ten Commandments. So his contention is that Zionism is the opposite of true Judaism. Yeah, I would say so. And so you see many Orthodox Jews protesting against Zionism, both within Israel and in other countries, strong protests against Zionism. Okay. But precisely who are these two managers of large Berlin banks? The top 9 candidates: Jacob Goldschmidt, Jewish head of the Danat Bank; Darmstadtler and National Bank; Oscar Wasserman, Jewish board member of Deutsche Bank, and he was forced to resign in 1934. And Wasserman was a leader of the Zionist forces in Germany. Theodor Frank, Jewish co-chair of Deutsche Bank, and also forced to resign in 1934. Theodor Frank, it's okay. Salmer Fair, Jewish co-chair of Deutsche Bank, who came from a Jewish family of merchants in Braunschweig. Okay, George Solmson, Jewish board member of Deutsche Bank, forced to resign also in 1934. Paul Bond, Jewish board member of Deutsche Bank, who was of Jewish extraction according to legal documents from the lawsuit Len versus Richa. Kurt Blumenfeld, the Jewish president of the Zionist Federation of Germany from 1924 to 1933, although Kurt Blumenfeld was not a bankster. Siegfried Moses, Jewish president of the Zionist Federation of Germany from 1933 to 1937, but not a bankster. The holy in inverted commas, Rabbi Leo Baek, a leader of several Zionist organizations in Germany, but also not a bankster. Clearly, the 3 most likely Jewish general managers, in whom Heinrich Brüning was referring were Jacob Goldschmidt, Oscar Wasserman, and Theodore Frank. All right, so any comment, Andy?
No, just that obviously Google says no, definitely wasn't. But then Greg Hallett wrote a great book and done some videos to prove that Hitler was, a British MI6 agent.
Is
So
that
yeah,
right?
you can never believe Google, and you can never believe AI in certain
No,
ways.
there's always an attempt made by such entities to fact check and discredit and debunk claims that are made that are true and to try to suggest they are falsehoods so that the claim is discredited. Of course, they do this all the time. The Anti Defamation League was first created in order to protect those the followers of the Talmud who were molesting and abusing children and subjecting children to SRA, to defend their name and reputation against what they deemed to be defamation. So that's why ADL was founded, to protect those child abuse offenders from being prosecuted. Okay, Andy? Okay, so Winston Churchill, Jewish Illuminati military leader of Britain from 1911 to 1946. Churchill knew that Hitler was the single most important Zionist MI6 agent in Germany throughout World War II. That is why he shielded his precious Zionist MI6 agent Hitler from every possible assassination attempt from 1939 to 1945, and in August 1938 also rejected the lunatic asylum proposal given to him as part of the 1938 Oster conspiracy. Until 21st of August 1938, Churchill rejected an offer given him by Ewald von Kleist-Schemsen to have Hitler removed from power and committed to a lunatic asylum. Throughout World War II, Churchill rejected offers from the following key British operatives to assassinate Hitler, who all had advanced proposals that would have succeeded. Noel Mason McFarlane, Douglas James Jardine, and MI6 assassin Edward Arnold Chapman, who is known as Agent Zigzag. Very interesting agent. You want to look into that, Andy. Agent Zigzag, whose real name was Edward Arnold Chapman. The full list of 24 assassination attempts on Hitler from 1932 to 1944 does not enumerate any single attempt by any operative fielded by the Zionist powers, US, Great Britain, Russia, or France. Instead, these parties comprised 22 German patriots, one Swiss, and one Pole. That proves that Hitler was Zionist protected. Churchill's mother, Jenny Jerome, was a Jewess of New York City, making him 50% Jewish. Churchill's father was most likely Edward VII, who is likely 75% Jewish. That made Churchill most likely 7/8 Jewish. All right, so Greg Hallett is an insider of MI5, MI6, and of the English monarchy. Hallett's royal batard chart substantiates Harlot's claims. But he is certainly 100% accurate in his assertion that the interests of the English monarchy and those of the Zionist House of Rothschild had become fully aligned after 1818, when Hallett also asserts the House of Rothschild actually purchased the breeding rights to the English monarchy. So, because the English monarchy was in debt in 1818, the Rothschilds made a deal. Okay, we will pay your debt, but in exchange, you must give us breeding rights. So at that point, this Luciferian family gained breeding rights within the British royal monarchical line. I think we've talked about that on the show before. Andy, do you remember?
Yeah, did you? So
This
that Greg Hallett guy's got this book out recently, and it's got like 4 stars on Amazon. So it must be true what he's saying.
This made Edward the Seventh 75% Jewish, and his son Winston Churchill 87% Jewish. That is also shown on the latter chart. Furthermore, the two biggest shareholders of the world's oldest and most successful criminal conspiracy, emphasized as the Bank of England, are the Rothschilds and the Windsors, who are de facto Jewish. Because as we explained, the House of Rothschild purchased breeding rights in the British royal family. You also want to consider that the Windsors' real name was Saxe-Coburg Gotha, and that was a German, I would say German Jewish royal family. As a Jew, Churchill, obviously an ardent Zionist who visited Jerusalem as early as the 28th of March, 1921, when he defended the Balfour Declaration, because he knew well that the synagogue of Satan, Team Antichrist, had granted Britain victory in World War I because of it. Okay. Max Warburg. Fritz Springmeier, who wrote Bloodlines of the Illuminati, which I consider to be a very well-researched book. It's available online on the internet for free. Download it and read it. It's fantastic. Fritz Springmeier identified Hamburg bankster Max Warburg as the most likely Illuminati mind control handler of Adolf Hitler until 1938, when he left Germany to join his brother Paul Warburg in New York City. The Warburg conspiracy ensured that both World War I and World War II would take place because Max Warburg was a leading bankster in Germany, while Paul Warburg was in 1916 and 1918 the second vice chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve System, which is not a federal institution by any means, but a private one. And it's a consortium of 10 banks, all of which are Rothschild controlled, which it also has no reserves, but rather fiat digits, and which is not a system, but in fact a criminal conspiracy. Max Warburg was also a lofty member of the Committee of 300. In 1938, Triple Agent Martin Vorman, triple agent of 3 countries, became the Illuminati mind control handler of Adolf Hitler. Sigmund George Warburg. Sigmund George Warburg was a German-born Jewish English bankster a loyal member of the Committee of 300, an MI6 agent, and finally the co-founder of London-based investment bank S.G. Warburg and Company throughout World War II. Sigmund Georg Warburg met regularly in Switzerland with Hjalmar Schacht, who was a New York City Freemason. The Illuminati